If you have committed several felonies, it's best wise not to antagonize federal law enforcement agencies. Now, I will say for now, we don't know exactly what's going on, but the Blaze reports, finally, the feds, including ICE, appear to be investigating Rep. Ilhan Omar. At least 3 departments are reviewing what could be the worst ever crime spree by an elected U.S. official. And the reason I opened with a statement about crimes is that there is circumstantial evidence that Ilhan Omar may have been involved in or committed immigration fraud. She goes on and rags about ICE, to abolish ICE, and all of these things. And when you combine this with the accusations and the circumstantial evidence, it sounds like she's saying abolish the organization that would be enforcing the actions against me. Well, I don't know if the accusations are true. We'll see what the investigations pull up, but I will say this. If you go out of your way to target law enforcement officials, and there's evidence against you, don't be surprised when the investigation comes back to bite you. Let's read the story from The Blaze, reported by David Steinberg, He says, on October 30th, I reported that the Department of Justice had assigned an FBI Special Agent in Charge, or SAC, to review Rep. Ilhan Omar's apparent astonishing spree of felonies from 2009 to 2017. Minnesota State Rep. Steve Drazkowski had previously filed a complaint on the matter with the Minnesota District of the Department of Justice. That office, headed by U.S. Attorney Erica McDonald, a 2018 Donald Trump appointee, directed the FBI to review the complaint. An FBI SAC formally met with Rep. Drazkowski and others in mid-October to receive a prepared file of evidence and related information. I can confirm that the FBI has taken additional steps since this October meeting. In October, the FBI SAC, what is SAC again? Special Agent in Charge, stated that the wide range of criminal activity suggested by the evidence against Rep. Omar may lead the FBI to expand the review to other federal departments. In such situations, the SAC continued, the FBI often acts as a hub, sharing evidence or coordinating a joint investigation with several other investigative agencies. Indeed, this has since occurred. And this is the Blaze reporting. At least the following 2 federal agencies were contacted by the FBI with information regarding Rep. Omar. The FBI then placed the October meeting attendees in touch with selected investigators within these 2 agencies. 1, the Department of Education Inspector General. This is related to evidence suggesting that Rep. Omar's 2009 marriage to a UK citizen may have been an attempt to facilitate federal student loan fraud or other fraud involving higher education. Shortly after Omar's 2009 marriage, the new couple moved to Fargo, North Dakota. Omar enrolled at North Dakota State University in August 2009. Her husband enrolled the following year. Omar received a degree in June 2011. According to Omar herself, she and her husband then permanently separated in June 2011. The marriage's start and end coincide with the start and end dates of Omar's NDSU enrollment. Incredibly, according to address records and a statement from Omar herself, she was also still living with her first husband and their 2 kids throughout this second marriage. In 2017, Omar finally filed for divorce under penalty of perjury. She submitted a 9-question form to the court, attesting to having lost all contact with her NDSU husband in June 2011. Dozens of verified social media posts, photos, and even a 2016 interview with the NDSU husband indicate otherwise. It appears Omar perjured herself 8 times answering those 9 questions. I got to stop now, and I want to point out something important to all of you. She married someone. He enrolls in school, and then once she leaves, they separate. Do you have any idea the amount of scrutiny placed on people when they're trying to marry people for citizenship or benefits? It is a serious endeavor. And there are old tropes from TV shows about people who are, an American trying to marry a foreign citizen, convincing immigration it's a legitimate marriage. There is serious concern in ICE that American citizens will essentially be paid to marry people. So here's what happens. You will get a phone call or a message from someone, a beautiful woman. They'll then have a private meeting with you and say, what if we gave you X amount of dollars and you go and get married? These things are serious crimes and they happen. ICE looks for these things. The reason I bring this up is that don't you think it's kind of suspicious that she marries someone, he joins the school, they separate, he leaves the school. These things kind of make it seem like it's not legitimate, especially when you consider she's living with her new husband and her old husband. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it will raise suspicions. Let's read on. 2, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This is related to evidence suggesting a breathtaking number of possible immigration-related felonies, as I stated in an introductory passage within my July 18 article, saying, the following answers to those questions about Rep. Omar's marriage appear to give probable cause to investigate Omar for 8 instances of perjury, immigration fraud, marriage fraud, up to 8 years of state and federal tax fraud, 2 years of federal student loan fraud, and even bigamy. Really? To be clear, the facts describe perhaps the most extensive spree of illegal misconduct committed by a House member in American history. The involvement of ICE with a possible criminal investigation could hardly be of greater political import to Omar. For several years, Omar has vigorously supported the abolishment of ICE. Her 2020 re-election platform, featured on her campaign website and pictured below, targets ICE agents with vicious rhetoric that simply must be read by interested parties. States Omar's site, quote, immigration and customs enforcement is an unreformable organization that has become increasingly militarized, brutal, and unaccountable. She goes on to say, however, we must not simply revert back to the immigration system that preceded ICE. We must welcome immigrants into our country and provide them simple and accessible means to becoming documented. They say since August 2016, the remarkable story of Rep. Omar's past has produced scarce political, law enforcement, or media activity, a near perfect inversion of the Trump-Russia collusion yarn with which it is inseparable. Consider how the Trump investigation was initiated. As former FBI Director James Comey tells it, recent statements from Attorney General William Barr and U.S. Attorney John Durham suggest disagreement. Comey treated an unverifiable claim from a foreign diplomat of a drunken remark by a low-level Trump staffer as predicate for spying on a presidential campaign. Comey never did find stronger evidence, yet the Democratic Party and supportive media hardly paused for 3 years covering this investigation. Concurrently, in August 2016, Minnesota reporters Scott Johnson and Preya Samsundar were publishing extensive, verified, still unchallenged evidence implicating Rep. Omar in multiple felonies. Their exponentially more substantial evidence was ignored by the Democratic Party and supportive media. Their evidence was even ignored by law enforcement per an extraordinary public dismissal shortly before Omar's 2016 election to the Minnesota House of Representatives. FBI guidelines require only, quote, articulable factual basis of possible criminal activity to open an investigation. By September 2016, Johnson and Samsundar had objectively breached that threshold. Picture Comey applying his crossfire hurricane standards to their work. Perhaps Omar's trial reaches the sentencing phase before the November election. I followed up on Johnson and Samsundar's investigation in early 2018. A year later, the proportions of the verifiable case against Omar resemble that against a Batman villain. A comical number of likely felonies, all backed by God-smacking evidence. Certified state and federal documents, certified UK government documents, archived state public school records, archived US and UK address records, verifiably unmanipulated digital photographs, corroborating statements from Omar herself, corroborating statements from Omar's ex-husband himself, several years of social media posts from Omar's verified accounts, and several years of suddenly deleted social media posts from Omar's verified accounts. I must stop. I said circumstantial evidence because I think it's fair to say. Now, I could be wrong, okay? Maybe this really does account to a lot of hard evidence. Perhaps, I think it's fair to say, there are photos of Omar and her ex-husband. My understanding, when she claimed she didn't have contact with him, that would be hard evidence of perjury, I'd imagine. The challenge is she deleted them. Some people claim it's manipulated, and we need the investigation to dig this stuff up and see what's going on. He says that's before we reach the good stuff. The only man on earth with the same name and birth date as Omar's ex-husband, who appears to have been raised in the London home of Ilhan's verifiable sister, has the same 3 family names. Yet media continued to approach the developing story of Omar's background with zero rigor, literally zero. Their distortions were provably deliberate, and their intentions blinking red evident. Simply, Ilhan Omar's identity struck the Democratic Party and supportive media as being a best-case vehicle for selling progressivism. Omar's character? Worst case. But they preferred the fantasy. They printed it over and over along with that other one sparked by drunken hearsay. The rule of law and the safety of Jews were roadblocks. The Democratic Party and media have not changed. Consider the coverage of the House Democrats. And I want to stress that last part. Ilhan Omar is an overt anti-Semite. They don't care about the things she said over and over again, they keep saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Sorry, I don't see it. I think she's an overt anti-Semite. They say Rep. Omar now appears to be receiving the scrutiny her articulable facts have deserved since August 2016. Perhaps a criminal investigation is open. Well, we don't know for sure, but I'm going to wrap it up there. I'll say this reporting comes from David Steinberg. He deserves all of the credit for all of the stuff, not me. He's been, he and others have done real investigations into this. I think it's fair to say enough evidence exists with the social media posts alone to dig into what she's been doing. Now, we don't know if there's an investigation in terms of criminal matters. I don't know for sure. David is saying that, the feds appear to be looking into this. And I will end by saying to all of the angry leftists, this website, theblaze.com, is certified by NewsGuard. If you got a problem, take it up with them. They have certified The Blaze as adhering to basic standards of credibility and transparency, and I can only take their articles at face value. Is it enough? I don't know. Stick around. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.